It's the year of 1887. Two young brothers arrive in the bustling city of Detroit with little money, but full of dreams and determination. Their names, John E. Horace Dodge, ambitious and skilled with machines. They assemble a small mechanic shop where they repair and manufacture parts with impeccable precision. A few years later, the talent of the Dodges caught the attention of a man who was about to change the future of the automotive industry, Henry Ford. The brothers quickly become an essential part of their project. At the Dodge workshop, almost all the parts from the first Ford cars, they were created with superior perfection and quality. And it was thanks to this partnership that the legendary Model T, it was born, the car that put the world on wheels. Without the work and ingenuity of the Dodges, Ford Motor Company might never have achieved the same level of success otherwise. But even with such an important role, the brothers remained in the shadows. While the Ford name was becoming synonymous with progress, tired of living as supporting characters, the Dodges decided to go their own way. They founded the Dodge Brothers Company, determined to compete head-to-head with her former ally, and surprisingly, they succeeded. Within a few years, their cars became best-selling in the United States, coming in second only to Ford itself. For a time, they seemed unstoppable, but fate doesn't always favor pioneers. Conflicts, tragedies, and financial challenges ultimately interrupted the brothers' rise to fame. Even so, the Dodge legacy remains to this day. On the roads, in garages, and in every vehicle that bears their family name. Even though many people don't know their stories, John and Horace Dodge were the men who helped build another man's dream and then created their own. In the decade of 1860, in a small town called Niles, in rural Michigan, two brothers were born who would one day leave a profound mark on the history of the automotive industry. John and Horace Dodge, children of a simple man who ran a mechanic shop with their own brothers. The boys grew up amidst the smell of grease, the sound of hammers, and the gleam of freshly polished metal. From an early age, they learned the value of hard work. Life in Niles wasn't easy. The Dodges were known for being one of the poorest families in the region. During Michigan's harsh winter, the boys braved the cold with bare feet and worn clothes. But they rarely let their suffering show. They did everything they could to make their mother believe that everything was all right. That difficult childhood did not divide them. On the contrary, strengthened the bond between them. Despite the 4-year age difference, John and Horace became inseparable companions. From a young age, they accepted any kind of work to help support their families, and that's how they developed a work ethic that would stay with them throughout their lives. In 1882, the family crisis forced them to leave Niles. They moved first to Battle Creek, then to Port Huron, seeking new opportunities after the father's business failure. During their adolescence, they began working alongside him in Upton Manufacturing Company, a factory specializing in steam engines and threshing machines. There, the brothers became talented machinists, learning all about iron and steel. What began as a necessity soon turned into a passion. They had found their purpose. But John, the eldest, sensed that destiny had something greater in store for him. To the 21 years old, with only 50 cents in my pocket, he made a decision that would change everything. He said goodbye to Little Niles and set off towards Detroit, a city that pulsed with the sounds of machines and opportunities. The first step in one of the most extraordinary stories of American industry. When John Dodge arrived in Detroit in 1886, the city was already throbbing with the sound of machinery and the smell of burning coal. Determined to build a better future, he got a job at Murphy Iron Works, a company specializing in steam boilers used in stationary engines and boats. He was winning $16.50 per week. It was just enough to survive, but it was the beginning of something bigger. A year later, his brother Horace. He joined him, and, as always, John didn't hesitate to help him. He got his brother a job at the same company, where he earned $13.50 per week. The two stood out for their effort and precision. But the hard work and the smoky environment began to take their toll. John, exposed daily to soot and metallic fumes, eventually developed tuberculosis, a serious and feared disease at the time. He spent months weakened, taking medication and a popular tonic known as Elixir 130, which contained high doses of alcohol. Although it recovered, the constant use eventually led to dependence, something that would mark part of the brothers' reputation throughout their lives. While John struggled to recover, Horace continued working hard. It was during this period that the Dodges met a man who would change their view of engineering, Henry Leland, a perfectionist who would later found the Cadillac and to Lincoln. With Leland, they learned the value of absolute precision. Every piece had to be perfect, every gear exact. When John finally recovered, the brothers decided to seek a safer and cleaner environment. They moved to Canada, where they started working at Dominion Typograph Company, a manufacturer of printing machines. There, they developed skills in high-precision tooling, which further refined their technique as machinists. It was also during this period that Horace made his first notable invention: one-ball bearings for bicycles with a 4-point design, smoother, cleaner, and with less friction. The invention attracted attention and quickly turned into a business. In 1897, they teamed up with a colleague from the Dominion, Fred Evans, and they founded the Evans and Dodge Bicycle Company. Using its innovative patent, the company grew rapidly. Evans, with a talent for sales, traveled the country promoting the bicycles, while his brothers focused on production and mechanical improvements. But the bicycle market became extremely competitive at the end of the 19th century, and profits began to fall. Despite good positions and earnings, Dodge realized it was time to pursue a different path. In 1900, they sold their shares for $7,500, a small fortune for the time, and they decided to open their own mechanical workshop, a Dodge Brothers company. They didn't know it yet, but that small warehouse in Detroit would be the birthplace of one of the greatest revolutions in the automotive industry. When they officially opened their auto repair shop in Detroit, John Dodge had almost 36 years old, and Horace, I was with 32. With the money they had saved from the bicycle company, they invested in modern equipment, and they put together a small team of 12 skilled workers. Initially, they repaired and manufactured all types of machines, from agricultural equipment until stationary engines, always with the precision that had become his trademark. In a few months, the name Dodge Brothers, it started circulating around the city. The workshop became known as the best place in Detroit for those seeking reliable parts and impeccable workmanship. Customers from various parts of the state came seeking the brothers' services, impressed by their quality and punctuality. Even so, the early days were not easy. Most of the customers were from small businesses who frequently delayed payments, which put the Dodges in delicate financial situations. But fate, once again, had bigger plans for them. It was then that a man approached the brothers with an ambitious proposal. He needed help to produce parts for a new car company, a bold project that promised to make cars accessible to everyone. This man was Ransom Eli Olds, founder of Oldsmobile, who had developed an innovative model called Curved Dash. Olds needed reliable partners to manufacture engines and components on a large scale, and Dodge vehicles were exactly what he was looking for. The partnership began in 1901, and soon the brothers were producing pieces with unprecedented quality. The Curved Dash became an instant success, the first mass-produced gasoline car in the United States. By the end of the first year, hundreds of units had been sold. In 1902, the production reached 2,500 vehicles, an extraordinary feat for the time. Growth was so rapid that Dodge needed to expand to office and hire more workers. Success with Oldsmobile completely transformed the brothers' lives. They became respected and recognized as two of the best manufacturers of automotive parts in the country. But what truly set them apart wasn't just their technical skill. It was their tireless dedication and its vision of the future. Their accumulated experience in workshops, factories, and even the bicycle industry in Canada gave them the necessary knowledge to run a business efficiently. The name Dodge Brothers now meant quality, trust, and innovation. It was precisely this reputation that caught the attention of a visionary man who was about to change the course of automotive history, Henry Ford. The meeting between Ford and the Dodge brothers. It would mark the beginning of a new era, not just for them, but for the whole world. In 1902, Henry Ford, then with 39 years old, I was trying a third time to create your own car company. The two previous attempts had failed, and he was now looking for someone capable of manufacture reliable parts for their new cars. That's when he heard about the talented brothers, John E. Horace Dodge, whose machines were known throughout Detroit for their precision and quality. Curious, Ford personally visited the Dodge workshop and was impressed by what he saw. The machines gleamed, the engines ran perfectly, and the atmosphere exuded competence. Without hesitation, he proposed a partnership. I wanted the brothers to produce components and gears for their vehicles. Ford promised that together they could manufacture more cars than any competitor of the time. At that moment, the Ford Motor Company did not yet exist, and the risk was enormous. The Dodges knew that Henry Ford was facing serious financial problems, but they decided anyway, bet everything. In 1903, terminated their stable contract with the Oldsmobile, and they joined forces with the visionary from Detroit. The initial agreement stipulated that Dodge would produce 650 transmission and engine assemblies for Ford, each one costing $250. But Ford, with limited resources, he frequently delayed payments, which deeply irritated Horace. Tired of the delays, the brothers threatened to sell the parts to another buyer, as the contract allowed. Instead of breaking the agreement, John proposed a bold solution. Ford should pay the $7,000 of debt, and, in return, the brothers would receive 10% of the shares of the new company, in addition to the right to all assets, should Ford go bankrupt. Ford resisted at first, but with no alternatives, it eventually accepting, and that decision would change everyone's destiny. Their relationship started out tense, but soon became extremely profitable. The participation of 10% off at Ford Motor Company. It proved to be a brilliant move, and the Dodges became millionaires as the company grew. Furthermore, they continued manufacturing engines, transmissions, and axles for all Ford cars between 1903 and 1914, including the legendary Model T. Although the idea of assembly line it may have been inspired by ransom olds, it was Henry Ford who improved producing mobile platforms and a continuous transportation system. This reduced the production time to just 90 minutes by car. The model revolutionized the world by selling millions of units and becoming the most popular car on the planet. In 1914, it was estimated that 9 out of 10 cars, the streets of the world, were Fords. The Dodge brothers expanded their team of 120 for more than 5,000 employees, transforming not world's largest supplier of automotive parts. They became extremely rich men, buying properties, mansions, and living a life of luxury they never imagined during their impoverished childhood in Niles. But despite their fortune, they were not well regarded by Detroit's high society. Horace liked drinking with the workers. He frequented bars and sometimes got into fights. These habits caused them to excluded from elitist circles, something that, for them, mattered little. Once, when Horace was rejected as a member from an exclusive golf club called Grosse Pointe, he responded in kind. Bought the land in front of the club, built your own mansion and Aprovet golf course just to provoke the members who rejected him. His house had room for 12 cars, a symbol of triumph for those who once walked barefoot through the streets of Niles. The Dodge brothers were now pillars of the American automotive industry, and although they had helped build Henry Ford's empire, they knew they hadn't achieved everything yet. The next step would be create something entirely your own. They were about to found a brand that would bear their name and become one of the world's largest automakers, Dodge Brothers. Although the partnership between Henry Ford and the Dodge Brothers. Despite its remarkable success, it was clear that one day their paths would diverge. Ford, increasingly arrogant and authoritarian, wanted to get rid of the influence of siblings, while John and Horace Dodge, they were already tired of working for someone who I never accepted advice. For years, the brothers suggested improvements for Ford cars, even for the legendary Model T, but his ideas were constantly ignored. Ford demanded that they continue only manufacturing parts without questioning their decisions. Even though they were earning millions, John and Horace realized that relying exclusively on Ford was a risk. They knew that if they wanted freedom and a secure future, they would need to build something of your own. In 1913, John Dodge resigned from his position, vice president of Ford Motor Company, saying he was tired of being controlled by Ford. The brothers spent the following 18 months carefully planning his new venture, and in July 1st, 1914, was officially born Dodge Brothers Motor Company. At the time, the Dodge name was already synonymous with quality and reliability in Detroit. Therefore, when they announced the first car entirely developed by them, more than 6,000 people, they went to watch the big launch, the Dodge Model 30. The car was a landmark of innovation. He had a 4-cylinder engine with 35 horsepower, surpassing the Model T in performance. Furthermore, it was the first automobile with a fully metal body electric headlights, system of 12 volts and speedometer, something rare for the time. Until the end of 1915, more than 45,000 units had been sold, making Dodge the third largest car manufacturer from the United States in its first full year of operation. Unlike Ford, which made small annual updates, the Dodge brothers focused on real mechanical improvements and in expanding its vehicle lineup. Soon, the sedans, roadsters, taxi, and even commercial trucks, including the robust Dodge van, precursor to modern vans. When they asked Horace, why did Dodge cars cost more than Ford cars, he replied ironically, "Think of all the Ford owners who will one day want something better." A Ford versus Dodge rivalry, it had begun. In 1916, Dodge sold 72,000 vehicles. The following year, it surpassed the mark of 100,000. All this while the brothers still maintained 10% of the shares of Ford Motor Company, receiving millions in dividends, which meant that Henry Ford was financing his direct competitors. Annoyed, Ford decided to stop paying dividends to shareholders and use the money to build a giant new factory, the River Rouge plant, in addition to increase workers' wages and reduce the price of the model to dominate the market. But this directly harmed investors, including the Dodge family. The brothers reacted, and they sued Ford, alleging mismanagement. After 3 years of legal dispute, the court ruled in favor of the Dodges. Ford was forced to pay $2 million in overdue dividends and resume regular payments. Furious, in 1919, he decided to buy all the shares of the Dodge brothers, paying $25 million, a gigantic sum for the time. In the end, John and Horace transformed an initial investment of $10,000 on a return 32 times larger. And they also owned a car company that was growing by leaps and bounds, a Dodge Brothers Motor Company. There was no need for excessive advertising. They used simple slogans like, "He speaks for himself," and "reliability," a word we invented. And indeed, the reliability of Dodge cars has gained worldwide fame. In 1916, 3 Dodge vehicles were used by a U.S. Army lieutenant on an expedition in Mexico versus Pancho Villa, becoming the first military vehicles of the United States. The success led the Army to order hundreds of units for use in World War I, including ambulances and trucks, even the systems of 155mm artillery recoil. They were developed with the help of Dodge engineers. These contributions reinforced the reputation of strength and durability, which the brand carries to this day. In 1920, the the brothers had transformed their company into second largest automaker in America, second only to Ford. More than 145,000 Dodge cars they were sold that year. But just when everything seemed perfect, fate was preparing a cruel blow. And the Dodge siblings' lives would never be the same. In January 2nd, 1920, John and Horace Dodge traveled to New York to participate in National Auto Show, one of the most important events in the industry. The trip was a success, but upon returning to Detroit the following week, both had contracted a severe flu, which quickly turned into pneumonia. Horace fell ill first, and John, worried, he stayed by his brother's bedside, watching over him day and night. However, a few days later, John was also infected and needed to retire to bed. While Horace's health slowly improved, John's worsened with each passing day. Despite the efforts of the doctors and family, John Dodge died just 10 days later, leaving everyone devastated. Horace, deeply shaken, recovered physically, but never got over the loss of his older brother. He said that John's death had left a void impossible to fill, that without him, the future seemed meaningless. Even while grieving, Horace tried to continue leading the company, but his health deteriorated again in the following months. In August of that same year, he withdrew from business, moving to his seaside mansion in Palm Beach in Florida, seeking rest and recovery. Unfortunately, he never fully recovered. In December 10th, 1920, less than a year after his brother's death, Horace Dodge passed away, victim of liver cirrhosis. With the loss of the two founders, the fate of the company was left in the hands of their wives, Matilda and Anna Dodge. They inherited the company and appointed Frederick J. Haynes as president, a man who had worked side by side with the brothers from the beginning and shared their vision of quality and innovation. Under his leadership, the Dodge Brothers Motor Company launched new models and established a partnership with the Graham brothers, focusing on the production of heavy trucks. Sales increased, but the stability was short-lived. In 1925, the widows decided to sell the company for a group of investment banks by $146 million in cash, one of the largest transactions in history up to that point. Immediately after the sale, Haynes was replaced, and the new group of investors took control. But there was a problem. They had no experience in the automotive industry, which quickly led Dodge to a phase of poor management and a drop in sales. In just 2 years, the company lost almost 40% of its market, falling to the 13th place among American automakers. In 1928, after successive failures, Dodge was put up for sale again. That's when Walter P. Chrysler, one of the visionaries of the time, acquired the company for $170 million, incorporating it into his growing automotive empire. Under the new management, the name was simplified to Dodge, and the brand began to focus on accessible vehicles, following the same path that had led him back Ford or Chevrolet giants. In the following years, Dodge reinvented itself, launching stylish and powerful cars who would become icons of American motorsports, such as Dodge Charger and the Challenger. The brand also left its mark on the market of trucks and cargo vehicles, especially below-the-line Ram, consolidating its reputation for strength and resilience. This is the story of brothers John and Horace Dodge, two men of Niles, Michigan, which helped to shaping the future of the American automotive industry. Despite their success, their lives were short and marked by tragedy, but the legacy they left behind remains to this day. Millions of cars still bear the name Dodge, a symbol of the determination, courage, and ingenuity of two brothers who started with a workshop and ended up changing the world on 4 wheels. And if you enjoyed this story, get ready. The Canal Temporal Chronicles. It will continue to reveal the complete journeys of the world's greatest visionaries and their legendary companies. Subscribe. Come with us on this journey through the stories that created empires.